This session will last an hour. We have 4 different topics for about 15 minutes each. We'll have somebody talking about the Canadian Agricultural Partnership Program, and we'll have somebody talking about preparing for an intake, for an application intake. What are the steps needed to do that? We'll also be fielding questions about the programs that you have. Margaret May and I will be looking after that. Our first session will be Paul Reeds and Robin Brown. They will be talking about the educational workshops that Ontario Soil and Crop delivers. Please note this session is being recorded, and we ask that you fire off all your questions down. If you hover over the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A section. If you have questions, please enter them there, and we'll address those questions at the end of every 15-minute time slot. And after you've gone through the hour of this presentation, I encourage you all to go to the Ontario Soil and Crop virtual exhibit space. Take a look around, see all the interesting things we have to offer. And in there somewhere, I'm not going to tell you where, but there is a spot where you have the opportunity to enter to a chance to win an Ontario Soil and Crop rain jacket or a Soils at Guelph ball cap. So Robin and Paul, please go right ahead.
Excellent. Well, thank you for this great opportunity. I am going to share my screen. Paul and I have a slide deck to share with you. Maybe if you can all just indicate that you can indeed hear us, that would be great. And Kathy will alert Paul and I if there's a trouble with the audio at all. But Paul and I are going to talk to you about OSCIA's educational workshops. Paul, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to come to you from east of Lindsay, and this is certainly a great way to connect under these times. So thanks for tuning in.
Yes, there's a really great lineup of opportunities for people across the province to jump in on a whole bunch of great learning experiences. So the key goal of Paul and my time here tonight with you, trying to change my slide. There we go, is to help just alert you to the really awesome learning opportunities that are available, offered through Ontario Soil and Crop Improvement Association. So we do offer a number of programs, and really we've developed these workshops over a period of more than 25 years, and the facilitators out in the field are available to help the farmers in Ontario on a range of topics. We have 3 key topics. One is around environmental farm plan, and it is offered in an in-person workshop, in a 1-day renewal workshop that is also in person, and also as an electronic environmental farm plan. So great variety of learning experiences there. The Growing Your Farm Profits is offered as an in-person 2-day workshop, and Paul's going to tell you a little bit more about that later. And also we have a biosecurity themed workshop for those with livestock who can help learn more about how to keep those critters healthy and happy. And so all of these workshops and webinars and learning opportunities are available for you to learn more about from our website, and you do need to register for each of those workshops or webinars. I did mean to say the biosecurity is offered as an in-person 1 evening or sometimes an afternoon, and it is also offered in, I guess, generic livestock has a webinar opportunity. We're working on webinar delivery for some other topics in biosecurity. Not sure. The environmental farm plan in person is 2 days. The Growing Your Farm Profits in person is 2 days, and the biosecurity in person is a 1 4-hour session.
Yeah, and they're offered in French and English across the province, so that's terrific. And Rob and I just came back from doing an in-person EFP workshop today, so this is fresh in our minds. So, but people who in the workshop knew about the great things. But Robin, why do you think someone would want to take a CAP-supported OSCA workshop?
I'm glad you said CAP supported, so CAP, Canadian Agricultural Partnership. We wouldn't be able to do this without the terrific support from our federal and provincial governments. That's what helps make these workshops happen. And really some key points here on your screen. often it's a first step toward on-farm learning, and Paul and I did experience that in our workshop today, where there were a number of people who really just wanted to learn how to be better farmers. So that's a one way to look at it. Others who have done the environmental farm plan, for example, have done it multiple times. We're working on our 4th edition, so they just want to stay current. Things change on your farms quite well, potentially much more often than any of the material in the binders that we offer in any of our workshops. So the goal is for you to stay up to date and update your environmental farm plan or growing your farm profits or biosecurity every 5 years. And that update to keep you current is actually a requirement if you're going to try to tap into the cost share dollars that I believe Lois is going to talk about later and Lois and Margaret are going to talk about a little bit later. All of the educational opportunities that are offered through those 3 workshop topics are focused around best management practices. So established best management practices that have been set by our provincial Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs. So you know you're going to get things done right. It's a really fantastic opportunity, especially in those in-person workshops, to network with fellow farmers. And I think for those of you who are listening, you might actually put that one at the top of the list. For those of you who've done these workshops, you might all of a sudden walk around your farm and see things that you haven't seen for a long time. You've been walking past that perhaps broken piece of eaves trough for years and years, and all of a sudden, because you've talked about it in their environmental farm plan workshop, then you now see it in a new light. There's really great value to your time at these workshops, where we've had testimonials from numerous farmers talking about the time that they spent at the workshops, although it is 2 full days of their time plus some homework in between. Still opens up the door to great potentials on funding opportunities. Often they'll recommend these workshops to their neighbors, and we really appreciate that, that's for sure. Helps get people in the seats so we can share our good news stories. And we often hear about that funding piece from our participants at workshops as well, where not only did they learn a lot of great valuable information, but it opens the door to some potential funding opportunities that you're going to hear about later. But it can range from hundreds to thousands to tens of thousands of dollars that you can use towards on-farm improvement projects. Paul, I'm going to ask you, what is something that we'd say is common across all of those 3 workshop topics?
Yeah, they do have some common themes on how they're set up, whether it's EFP, GYFP, or the biosecurity. They help producers assess or identify challenges or an opportunity in their farm business. And then through that process, they help them identify a strategy or an action plan of how they can address that issue, and then learn the ways to implement that perhaps. And so of the 3 workshops, it's great that they're still all free to the producer. I mean, they're supported by our levels of government, and they're available to all producers, whether they be a new producer or a seasoned farmer. The workbooks provide objective, non-judgmental approach to assessing the practices. No one is judging you. You're able to just assess your own either management or environmental impact or biosecurity. And they're a proven framework that works for all. And we point out potential funding programs that can help you implement your plan. So they're just, those are just some of the common aspects of them. And it's good to know. So how do you find these workshops? Maybe you outline that, Robin, please.
Absolutely. Kathy mentioned it already, but you can go to our ontariosoilcrop.org website for these workshops. You do need to register in advance, and that will mean that you need to set up an account with Ontario Soil Crop. By doing that, it's going to open the door to a whole bunch of other opportunities around that funding program as well. But you do need to register for the workshops and webinars. We try to offer as many workshops as possible right across the whole province to help meet the needs of our Ontario farmers. And we have 14 trained workshop facilitators available to help you. And we try to go out of our way to make it work for you. And just on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see just I did a screenshot from the ontariosoilcrop.org website. That's the list of field staff. And please feel free to reach out to any of us at any point in time if you have any questions at all. We are more than happy to help answer them and hopefully direct you to a good workshop, or maybe just answer some questions along the way. And Paul, some of the things that I've heard from our producers talking about the workshops are some real benefits. So can you just maybe help outline what these farmers are talking about?
Yeah, whether they're just having a workshop today, enjoying it, or I'll talk to them months or years later and they said they really picked up a ton of knowledge that you could work for years, certainly months, to try and put together and assemble all the best management practices that are brought there. And humbly, they don't come from Robin or I. It's put together by a team of experts, whether they be farmers or industry experts. And you would just be an endless search to assemble that material. And there it's laid out in the best practices for you. And it's, again, provided free. It's just a terrific way. You also network and you get the feedback from other producers in the room who've tried that. And they've also tried some other alternative perhaps and say, hey, this is what works here. This is what doesn't. So you right away, and one fellow was telling me, I don't have time to take that day. And then once he did attend, he said, you saved me a month. He says, I was going to do something and it would have been the wrong direction. So it's just terrific there. It also helps producers prioritize what they should do. They something maybe urgent in their mind, but they find out, no, that's not my biggest issue. I have another issue that I should deal with that's more important. And so it helps them really get their to-do list shorter and not longer, because they prioritize and focus on what's important and not just screaming at them that day. So some of the goals of the workshop, maybe you could outline some of those goals, Robin, please.
Absolutely. Well, the main goal of any and all of our workshops is to help you as a farmer look at your farm's profitability, the farm's productivity, and sustainability. We've got a whole series of good news stories and videos available from links on our website, but really the main goal of all of the workshops is around profitability, productivity, and sustainability, around those three topics of environment, farm business, and biosecurity. Paul, maybe you can give us a few more details about specifically about the Grow Your Farm Profits workshop.
Yeah, that's maybe just best described, a story a little bit. I mean, it covers the 7 areas of management: production, marketing, financial management, human resources, social responsibility, business goals, as you can see on the screen. And we just break it down into bite-sized pieces so it's better to understand, and you learn, well, what do the top managers do in each of those areas? But like, people aren't broken down in different areas, but it's there's one great example just recently where there's a father-son, and there was a lot of tension in the room. They just couldn't come together, with their thoughts. And screen shows succession and the different ways. But I just want to take a moment to explain this, because it's top of mind with me, that the father and son, they weren't agreeing. The son didn't want to stay around. The father couldn't understand why. There was a shortage of funds, and that was a lot of tension with them. And they looked at the human side of it. They weren't getting along, and they had hired a consultant. But then the consultant helped them point in the direction that there was really the cost of production was not accurate in their operation. They had cash crop operation, and they really didn't have a good handle. They were cropping over 3,000 acres. And some of the land was not productive, but they didn't know which was productive, which wasn't. But by drilling down and helping to get that cost of production sorted out, they're able to figure out, well, which land they should let go. And they actually work less hard and are making more profits. The whole approach to each other is improved, and their human resource side's improved, their profitability's improved, and they just had to organize and focus on what was essential. But that was just a recent case today. So I think it just as the slide says, supports and encourages safe family discussion, provides a unique approach to dealing with tough issues that don't get covered anywhere else. It helps you focus on your top priorities, what's really important. And you come out of the workshops with 3 to 5 action plans that are going to help you move forward with a step-by-step recipe to help you achieve your goals. So that's a key part.
I really like that example you just used of working smarter, not harder.
Yeah, they were frankly on a road where I'm afraid they were going to split up and not transfer the farm at all to the son, and they got a new lease on life by just getting refocused. So it's really rewarding to see that. So maybe could talk a little bit about environmental farm plan, Robin, and what you think after about that particular workshop.
For sure. As Paul mentioned, top of mind. We just came out of for day one workshop today in the world of COVID, and everyone was very cooperative. We're very thankful for that. But it is a voluntary, as all the workshops are, a voluntary workshop helping the Environmental Farm Plan 1 specifically is offered in person and online as an electronic EFP. We really just took that binder that you would get at the in-person workshop and moved it into an online format where all of those links then become live. So you can just click on a link and learn more instead of having to go look for a book if that's what you were hoping to get out of an environmental farm plan. It's involuntary and it's really helping you to look at your farm, your whole farm from an environmental perspective. And again, it is a self-assessment awareness workshop or e-learning. It has been around for a long time, tried, tested, and true, and developed by farmers for farmers using experts to help do your own self-assessment on 23 different areas of the farm, all around best management practices. Great good news story of more than 70% of Ontario farmers who have participated in this particular workshop, and representing more than 35,000 participants right back since 1993. We've really made a solid effort to keep these workshops, webinars, e-learning, everything, keeping it current and valid as farm businesses change and evolve over time. And really, as workshop facilitators, all of us can attest to having a huge diversity of participants at all of the workshops. New, seasoned, multi-generation, brand new. I've had farmers who are within city limits, backyards, CSAs, large farms, commodity agriculture. We're all in this together producing food. And really, it's a great way to have a look at your farm from every possible angle and work on hopefully your self-assessment will help you focus on some key areas where you can make some improvements. So those three key pillars of environmental sustainability is really talking about your environmental stewardship, your economic viability, and your social responsibility. All of those are addressed within this particular workshop. It's going to help you, again, see your farm in a new way, help you increase your awareness about potential environmental risks on your property, and we do give you some suggestions on how to address those risks in what we call an action plan. So identifying actions to reduce those risks. Ultimately, again, we want to help you be successful as a farmer and help with safety and health of your family, your friends, your neighbors, your community. And again, hopefully we can help you with a bit of cost share funding. Here's a good slide with just a few, there's 40 different project categories when we get into the cost share side of things. Here's just a taste of them, from large tillage or manure application equipment to upgrading wells, to erosion control, to pollinator plantings, habitat establishment. It goes right across the board. And that kind of leads us into our third topic as we
Robin, I'm sorry, Robin, sorry, we are out of time for your session now. We did have one question. Somebody was wondering how many people can attend a workshop at a time?
Sure. In a COVID world, we're limiting it to 10, but once we get out of this, 20 people is what we're hoping to have at any given workshop, but we can deliver with a variety of anywhere from 5 to 20.
Alrighty, well, thank you very much, folks. And if any of you participants would like to reach out to Robin or Paul later on, you can certainly find their profiles in the listing of this session or through the Ontario Soil and Crop virtual exhibit space as well, if you want to ask them more questions. And
Thank you.
next up, we have Lois Sinclair. She's a regional program lead for Ontario Soil and Crop, and she's going to be talking about the Canadian Agricultural Partnership Program in general. Go ahead, Lois.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm just getting my screen up here to share with everyone. And sorry, push the right buttons. That's very helpful. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you. I hope you have your coffee in hand and your dessert, or maybe just waiting for supper to be cooked. But certainly we'll get you through this part of the exciting programs opportunity. It is the Canadian Agricultural Partnership, a short form, the partnership. It was launched April 2018. And it's to support Ontario's agri-food and agri-product sector, and will run till March 2023 as Canadian Agricultural Partnership. So again, Robin did mention the territorial, provincial and federal governments who stand behind this project. So we have 3 key priority areas, which Robin and Paul alluded to. I'm going to deal with them in a minute, step by step, but definitely we're looking at the business side of your farm or your business under economic development, talking about some projects there. Environmental stewardship, of course, the soil health, water quality is big and farmers are doing a great job, but definitely funding there to improve more things. Protection and assurance under animal health, food safety, plant health, which in gamut is the biosecurity end. Before I get any further, I want to mention new producers. Robin and Paul have these workshops. I have mentioned the workshops that are for producers who are wanting to get into the business, or definitely have livestock and want to improve or better what they're doing now. Definitely there's room for new producers, and it's advised to contact one of us workshop leaders to help you out on how it can affect you as a new producer. So by saying that, I'll keep going here, looking at economic development. Basically farm financial analysis, you hire a third person to do an analysis or an assessment with you. Maybe you're trying to figure out where you are now, and maybe look at going forward, how not to jeopardize what you do have in order to maybe purchase another farm or whatever's in your future. Business plan can be for basically knowing where you're at. Sorry, I've got some notes here I don't want to miss out, and some key components here. So it addresses the growth and the opportunities in your farm. Marketing plans, basically a marketing plan of what you're marketing on your farm. It can include a lot of different things. There's market products in Canada and market products internationally as well. Maybe you would like to do something on that end of your business, developing new products or processes. How do I get involved in that? Basically, just reach out to us before you apply. There's also a website I'll give you at the end of the presentation that you can take a look at what has been funded in the past. Planning for increased productivity, basically doing an assessment in order to develop a plan to identify those gaps, and then the technology and equipment to improve labor productivity is something novel or new in the province that will help with labor and costs along the way. Again, we'll do questions at the end. If you have any, by all means, please ask. Environmental stewardship, basically by having an environmental farm plan workshop under your belt, you can apply for any of these projects. Nutrient management and soil health planning, first time nutrient management plan, 5-year soil health plan possibly. Cover crops, there is specifics in what cover crops can be planted, but we definitely would like to see them overwintered. And then whatever you choose to do with them in the spring, usually they're terminated anyway through our winters here in Canada. Adding organic amendments to soil, maybe you're purchasing some manures to place on fields that haven't had that type of fertilizer. And again, doing a soil sample will determine if that field needs it. Fragile land retirement, long and short there, a piece of property that you just can't get to or can't be worked appropriately, maybe planting it into trees or some sort of a species. Repairing buffer strips can go along with the windbreaks and wind strips. Definitely having a look there with the erosion control structures as well. Anything and everything you can do to avoid soil erosion on your farm. Equipment modifications to reduce soil compaction. Big item has been tires, so it may be an inflation-deflation system that you're looking for on your implements, but there can be some projects such as that available for you. Equipment modifications to improve your manure application. This can be for solid or liquid spreaders. So have an eye there to see what might be available for you. Tillage and nutrient applicant equipment modifications can be fertilizer placement on your planter, or maybe I know some are, no-till drills had been applied for in the past. So again, something for everyone pretty much in the cropping side there. Nutrient recovery from wastewater or wash water can be for the poultry or the dairy greenhouse situations. If you need to do I'm going to say a better job at that. Manure storage improvements as well. Runoff control for livestock facilities could be a tank or just a placement of sorts for that runoff. I see my time's getting low, so I'll move on to animal health. Basically, these are through the biosecurity end and looking at education, training, assessment, and planning, improvements to animal housing and handling. Maybe you need a proper livestock chute so you can handle your animals a little easier, to administer a vaccine or whatever your situation is. New construction modifications or technologies to improve that handling area. Maybe you need to build modify an area in your barn. Traceability equipment can be a handheld reader for those tags that we're all needing for our livestock. And improvements could be a whole-fledged system that you need on your farm for that traceability system. Okay, just defining controlled access points, establishing cleaning, disinfecting practices, isolation, segregated facilities. I know I'm reading them off, but these are all really good opportunities for you to look at the livestock end of your business and see what helps best. I know the last one there, establishing facilities to manage dead stock, can be a biggie and a cost on a lot of farms, so check that one out to see what could be available for you. Food safety, so maybe a gap assessment for food safety and traceability, or a pre-audit done by a third party. That could be a cost share opportunity. Food safety and traceability training for you or your staff, some food safety equipment, some traceability equipment, anything to improve what you're already doing on your farm. Plant health is the last category I'm going to look at here, and I think my time's doing okay so far. Some education, training, assessment, and planning.
Lois. You've got a couple minutes.
Thank you, Kathy. Thanks, appreciate it. Looking at some tools and equipment for your plant health. Continuous written systems has been a big category in this past funding as well, and introduction and spreading of pests through isolation, sanitation, and controlling the workflow. Maybe you need a separate area to bring your items off one farm to another. Maybe you need a blower to blow down your baler if you're a person who goes from field to field baling hay in one field and hay in another field down the road. Those types of situations might work for you. And preventing excess of wildlife, pests, and rodents, which we all seem to have. They get in wherever. Definitely some areas there. A website I wanted to mention that if you are available, and please contact any of the workshop leaders. I did not put it up on here, and I apologize. But it is www.ontarioprogramguides.net, and that will kind of show you what has been applied for in the past. And use your imagination. You got to sell your project. So there might be something that you think would be eligible. Call out to us. We'll help you if we can. And definitely get involved. You know, why not? It is helpful. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time and your attention, and have a great rest of the evening. Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks, Lois. You did have one question come up. How do farmers know which workshop supports the different examples of the different project categories?
Well, that's where that website, ontarioprogramguides.net, comes into play, or please call one of us. We will walk you through it. We will email you the links. We will be so helpful and supportive as best we can. We can't write the applications for you. Margaret and Kathy will tell you all about that, but we certainly can help answer any questions you may have.
Well, thank you so much for your help, Lois. And next up, we have Margaret May, another regional program lead, and she will be talking about how to prepare for an intake. We don't currently have any intake dates available, but Margaret will certainly let you know what you can do to get ready for. Sorry, muted myself. Once we know the dates, she'll give you the steps. Go ahead, Margaret. Good to go, Margaret?
I think so. Sorry, I got kicked off. My internet went down and I had to find another source.
Alrighty, you're on.
Okay, so we had some questions about what do we do to get ready for an intake. So the $1 million question is, when is the next intake? We don't have that date yet. If you look at past history, I think you might be able to come up with what we maybe would be aiming for, potentially something in the wintertime. So while you're sitting on a combine or driving a grain cart or harvesting whatever, you can kind of spend some time and think about what you might want to do to get ready for that intake. So think about your project. Do you have a project? If you have a project, where does it fit in the potential for cost share? And easiest way to do that for sure is move to Ontario Soil and Crops online program guide. That is ontarioprogramguides.net. So all the categories for cost share are listed there, and you can determine whether your project fits a category or not. If it happens to be an environmental project, you're going to need to be sure that your environmental farm plan is up to date. So Paul and Robin talked about EFP, and Lois kind of outlined some of those categories for cost share. So you need to update your environmental farm plan every 5 years, because quite frankly, your business should change over the course of 5 years, and things will be different. So your challenge as the producer and the client is to know where your environmental farm plan binder is and how to find out how old it is. So there should be a certificate in it. There should be a letter of review in it with a date on it. And on page 10, you should have your name and address and phone number and the date of the workshop that you took the workshop. So if it's maybe a more business oriented type of project, you may need a marketing plan or a labor productivity assessment, or maybe a financial assessment of some kind. And maybe it's something like a labor productivity assessment. If you're looking to install technology to make changes, you're going to need that labor productivity assessment in place. And you can do all of those yourself, but they do take time, and you need to be sure you have them lined up and ready to submit when you apply for your project. So I guess my standard line is, this is where you need to check everything. So check your workshop dates, check that your project fits a category. And if you're not sure, that's what those of us in the field staff are for. We would welcome your phone call or your email or your text or your connection on Twitter if that's the way you want to get a hold of us. But we'd like you to call us and talk about your project and say, this is the project I've chosen. I think I need new tires on my manure tanker. Maybe I'd like to address this category that talks about soil compaction. And that would be the spot we would direct you for that for sure. But sometimes it's not quite as obvious to know exactly which category you fit into. So we would really like to talk to you about that. If you need to update your workshop, there are workshops happening in person with smaller numbers of people for sure. We just want you to be sure that you have everything up to date and have everything ready, because typically once we know when intake dates are, we have very little time to get you through a workshop and get the review in process. The one thing that you absolutely need to remember is to spend all the time you like shopping, but don't spend any money until after you get approval. So this whole process is send in your application, wait for an approval, and once you get an approval, then you go ahead and implement the project. Any of those invoices that happen to be dated before your approval will not be honored, so we really don't want you to get to that stage. The other thing I'd like you to think about is we implement an arm's length transaction rule, right? So if you're hiring somebody to do some work for you, it can't be your dad, it can't be your brother, it can't be your sister, and it can't be your kids, right? You have to keep it CRA, Canadian Revenue Agency's rules for arm's length transactions. That's a good thing to talk about before you start the project, rather than submit your invoices and discover that those are not eligible. So you can submit your application online. You can submit it by email. You can submit it by snail mail. You can drive it to Guelph, whatever way you want to do that. But you do need to ensure that it gets submitted in the end. So wait for the confirmation. If you are mailing it, please send it so that it requires a signature so that you'll know it's been received. And if you really want to check, call us and we can check that it's been received. Pay particular attention to when the intakes open and when they close, and whether those applications are reviewed continuously through the course of the intake, or if we wait till the end to review them, because it does make a difference when you submit how liable you are to get approval. I'd also like you to pay particular attention to what are the eligible items in that category and what are the ineligible items in that category. Just because you have a project in your head and it absolutely fits your business doesn't always mean that it's eligible for cost share. And my other line is, there are many good projects for which there is no grant. So sometimes it's just move ahead with the project because it's the thing to do for your business. Sometimes it works that it fits, everything lines up and it's eligible for cost share, and then we are absolutely here to help you do that. Before you submit your application, so when you're getting everything ready, you're gathering quotes, right? Some categories require formal quotes, some just require dollar values. So that's all listed in Ontario program guides. And that link is on our virtual site and it's on our website as well. So you can go through and have a look through all those categories and see which ones need the quotes and which ones don't. On every category, there's a list of how the merit is scored. So how valuable is the project going to be to society, to the environment? We realize it's important to your business, but with public money, it needs to be of value to somebody else besides. So those merits criteria are listed there, and you can help determine whether your project is more liable to be approved if it hits all of those areas of merit assessment, or maybe not as liable to be approved. So I guess the thing I really want to emphasize is talk to us. There's a program lead or a workshop leader in your area that you took your workshop with. We'd be glad to talk to you. If you can't connect with somebody close, you know, there are 14 of us across the province. We'd really like to talk to you before you buy anything, especially if you're shopping at the outdoor farm show, or talk to you while you're getting your application ready. We can't complete your application for you, but we can absolutely talk about it and be sure you've got it in the right category. So do we have questions, Kathy?
I have not seen any so far. Does anybody within this chat group have any questions for Margaret for this section? Doesn't really look like it.
Pretty quiet crew.
They are. Not like our usual workshops.
No, exactly.
Well, thank you for that, Margaret. And moving into the last session, it will be Margaret again and myself. I'm workshop leader with Ontario Silent Crop, based in Oxford County, but I cover a fairly wide territory. We're answering any questions you might have about the programs, the funding, the whole process itself. And I think Margaret had some questions sent to her in advance as well.
I did. So we can feel free to put questions in the Q&A or in the chat. I do have a list that I received ahead of time, so we've got some questions to work on. So the first one is, many of us think we can complete the project, then go ahead and apply for cost share, and unfortunately that's not the case. So again, it's submit your application. Once you receive approval, you can go ahead with the project and spend money, not until you get that approval.
Yes, certainly, if you're ever thinking about buying anything, please call us before you spend any money. Otherwise, we can't help you. Nothing is retroactive anymore, so call us before. If you have any idea of anything you might want to do, reach out to us. There are plenty of us that are available to talk to. And we did have another question. Are there more programs than the Canadian Agricultural Partnership that provide funding? Certainly through the LEADS program, if you're in the Lake Erie watershed, there's funding through that. And many local conservation authorities also have funding as well. And they quite often require an environmental farm plan within the last 5 years to be eligible for funding for that too. And another question here, how long after the project is completed do you have to send in your final costs? Do you want to answer that one, Margaret?
So we have an opportunity for multi-year projects, and we have an opportunity for kind of single-year projects. So if we use 2020 as the starting point, right? We submitted applications in January. Those approvals went out kind of April and May and June, and those projects under the partnership will have until January 15th to submit their invoices of 21 if they are single-year projects. If they are multi-year projects, they would have to spend some money and pay some invoices before January of 21, but they could spread some of those costs over the course of the full next year and send in their final invoice in January of 22. that takes a little management, and you need to submit on your application that I will absolutely spend this much money by the end of the first year of the program of my project, and I will finish it the second year, and those amounts must be adhered to.
Certainly, just
the
because a claim deadline might be February 15th, we would encourage you to submit your claim sooner rather than later. And chances are you'll get your money faster, because everybody waits till the last minute, and then our folks in Guelph are backlogged with claim forms at the very end. So the sooner you get it done, the easier it is.
Can I add a comment?
Absolutely.
Somebody was asking about other cost share opportunities. And again, I would encourage everyone to talk to their workshop leader or regional program lead, because sometimes there's very regional support that is outside of the Canadian Agricultural Partnership that can sometimes be combined with Conservation Authority money. And if you think of your farm as a farm business, then sometimes your local municipalities' economic development will have some support for you as well. And sometimes it's a very broad swipe where you can go to a whole bunch of different places. And just my experience as a workshop leader has been exactly that. And people have gone all over the place to find all kinds of money to help them with on-farm improvement projects.
So another question I often get is, how many applications at a time can I submit? So if you're submitting an application to the partnership, you can submit 2 applications per intake per farm business. So my question back is often, how many farm business registration numbers do you have? Because that will help determine how many businesses you can apply for. If you happen to live in the geography that drains to Lake Erie, you can submit 3 applications per year to that separate pot of money. It's also part of the partnership, but it's a separate pot of money for that geography that drains to Lake Erie. So then the question becomes, how do I know whether I submit the application through the partnership or through leads? And that becomes an individual discussion. We'll help you through that process, but it's, you know, look at the categories, look at the category caps. If you're submitting applications through the LEADS program, Lake Erie Agriculture, you're going to require a farmland health checkup completed with a certified crop advisor, and that will help determine your priorities and essentially, you know, your merit. So is that a high priority for your business? That's a higher level of cost share. That may be a reason to go to the LEADS program as opposed to the partnership program. One of the questions is, you know, I did this EFP workshop 10 years ago. Why do I need to do it again? Kathy, why do you need to do it again?
Your operation is going to change. It always does. It's always ongoing. Your soil structure might not change. The landscape of your buildings might not change, but certainly your cropping practices will probably change. Your management will probably change. And not only the environmental farm plan, but also your growing for your farm workshops too. We certainly encourage you to update them every 5 years for your own personal use as well as for the funding projects too. It's a benefit to you, and everybody who comes back the second or third or the fourth time around always comes out with something they've learned that they've forgotten the last time, and something that they've recognized that they would like to improve on again. Your situation changes all the time. All of our farm operations do.
Yeah, you're right on there. And sometimes the people change too. There's children come in, you know, and you know, some people move on. So it's there's always new people to learn the new things. So that's another reason.
Do we have any questions from any of our participants that are sitting in on this session?
So what's the best way to keep in contact with the program or with staff so that you know if there's changes or if intake dates are announced. So I would encourage you to keep in regular contact with your workshop leader, with your program lead by email or by text, or on Soil and Crops website, you can sign up to receive notifications about programs, and that will keep you in the loop so that you're able to know when the intakes are and if there happen to be any changes to those program categories.
And certainly social media. Ontario Soil and Crop has Twitter, they have Facebook, they have Instagram. So whatever your social media platform of choices, we're there, and we'll keep you updated all the time. There's always feeds going out when we have something new to announce. So follow us however you like. Margaret and I and Paul and Lois and Robin are all on Twitter, and you can find us pretty much anywhere. Robin or Lois or Paul, are there any other questions that you've come across over your several years of experience?
Just one of them is I've applied before. Can I apply again, or have I used my allotment? Is there a cap? You know, and it's a question I've run into. Some people even self-discount themselves, saying I already got money, so I can't get it again, eh? And nope, that's not the case. You can apply later.
So can you describe the limits there, Paul?
Okay. Well, within there used to be limits under Growing Forward too, and now it's limited by the number of applications. So that's very important under CAP anyway. Some of the other programs like SARPEL, there's a limit of $20,000 per farm, and so that actually is open right now. And I don't think we've even mentioned that one. There are various programs, and they have individual rules that you need to pay attention to. And again, we can help you with that by knowing your farm. Then we can know what might fit you better.
I would encourage people to subscribe. If they go to our Soil and Crop website, they can subscribe to that mailing list to stay up to date. And often the producers are finding out the same day that we find out when a funding program gets announced, because over my 13 or 14 years delivering the programs, I think there have probably been 35 different funding opportunities. So they vary by geography, by type of project, by program, by focus on a specific species maybe. So there's tons of opportunity. And if you're ready, then you can tap into some great opportunities.
And certainly I would encourage everybody to join your local Soil and Crop Improvement Association as well. We always have newsletters and bulletins and updates going out on a regular basis, and they will help you keep updated as well.
Some questions I get is, oh, I've registered for the workshop, but now I can't come. This will be an environmental farm plan one, that I can come to day 1, but I can't come to day 2. So I guess I can't come. Well, family members who farm alongside the farm operator are very welcome to come to the workshop on both days. We would love to have them, but if for some reason they cannot make both days, they can maybe come the second day to help dad or mom or whomever complete the process. And we do encourage all family members, whoever can come, to come.
Or certainly attend at a different location as well for the second day if that's a better situation. And we also provide the online electronic environmental farm plan and growing your farm profits workshops. They do take a little bit more time and a little bit more thinking if you've never done it before, but certainly we're here to help you with those as well.
How about another favorite question is there a lot of paperwork to these applications for cost share?
How hard is it to apply?
Yeah. And I've got to say, over 10 years that I've been involved, it's gotten much less paperwork every year. And now with some of the online, and it's really improved a lot over the years to narrow down the categories. You just go on the categories. It provides you the exact application that you need to fill out, and it limits the amount of characters, so you don't have to write a long novel or whatever. You just put in what your project basically is, and it's pretty simple. More of the reaction I get now is people are quite surprised how simple it is.
You don't need to hire a consultant to do it for you. It's just a question and answer, and fill it out, and it's encouraged that farmers fill out their own applications.
Any other questions from anybody? Margaret, did you have any other ones come in? Or do we get her all covered?
I think that we've got them all covered when everybody's piped in, which is good. I think we have addressed everything. So
Excellent. So one last call from our participants. Is there anything else you'd like to ask us? Certainly feel free to do it within the chat or with the question and answer icons at the bottom of your screen. Or if you don't feel comfortable doing it publicly, certainly reach out to us individually later on, and we will be more than happy to help you. But I'm not seeing any other questions so thank you everybody for attending. Thank you to all the panelists for assisting with this, and to Glacier Farm Media for all their assistance in getting this up and running for us. They've been an incredible amount of help. And I would encourage everybody again to go to the virtual soil and crop exhibit space within the Outdoor Digital Farm Show site and see where you can find to win either a rain jacket or a Soils at Guelph. Thank you everybody for attending, and have a good night.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone, and
Bye.
enjoy the rest of the show. It ends on Friday. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Brittany.